First of all, I am so excited. We got a full house tonight here at the Robin Williams Center. Obviously, you can tell when I asked how many people want an agent, I think every hand in the house went up. So one of my first questions is very elementary, but what is an agent? So can you each share how you became an agent and something you learned early on about your role in the career of a working actor? Now, any of you can start. Who wants to go first?
I have a...
You're on.
I have no idea.
You're on.
I have a fun story. I've been everything in this industry. So I've now been a partner at UIA Talent Agency for a little bit over a year. Prior to that, I was my own management company at Center Stage Management for 9 years. Prior to that, I was vice president at another management company, Prestige Management Group. Prior to that, I was an agent at Gilliverse, which doesn't exist anymore. Prior to that, I was a casting director at Liz Glue's Casting Partners. Prior to that, I was an actor at NYU. Prior to that, I was doing musical theater on Long Island with Natalie Portman and all them. Prior to that, I was a dancer with the Glufsky Ballet Company. Prior to that, I was playing baseball for my father's sake. And I'm only 25. So I've been through a lot of different things. The differentiations that I kind of learned throughout my time in all of those different aspects was that I really cared about the actor, which is shocking because I don't care about many people. So did I answer the question well enough?
But I love that you care about the actor. That's the important thing of being here tonight. You can clap, go right ahead. Fabulous. Here, we're all in this together.
All right. Started out as an actor person, super creative. I was that 16-year-old cutting out of high school, getting on the train, and anything backstage had. Gotten some precarious situations. And I started while I was in college interning at an agency, and I really started to learn the business at a very young age. But I was still acting and did my shows in New York, wound up in LA, going back and forth, wrote a couple of shows. A funny story. Honey Sanders, God rest her soul.
I loved Honey Sanders.
So I was out in LA. She knew I had done Tony and Tina's. I was a musical theater person. She's on Sunset Boulevard, LA. How far from Broadway can you get? She had this little area rug. It couldn't have been more than a 4x6. She's like, Amy, stand here. And I'm terrified. I think I'm all of like 22. And she's like, sing this song, sing that song. Like, literally for 3 hours, I'm like going through every show tune I can imagine. Anyway, I wound up working there. Back in the day of like headshots in the shelves and breakdowns underneath, smelling the Xerox.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm old. Anyway, I think that and then I wrote a couple of shows, and I was fortunate enough to have them run here for a nice long time. And I think connection with the actors and the creative part, we sometimes forget as agents. I was just telling one of my colleagues, I was like, I am so shackled to this laptop. And that's why this is such a blessing, so thank you, to be able to have, communication with you guys. And sometimes we forget, that we are all creatives, too. It just may look different for us nowadays. So, thank you for being here.
Beautiful.
Hey, everybody. I'm Michael Goddard with CGF Talent. I was also an actor for 16 years, but I was a marketing major in college. And so when I started acting, I was like, okay, I get it. Like, I'm a product. They're buying me or not buying me. Like, what's your brand? Let's sell it. Let's make it happen. Go. And all my friends who were artists were like, oh, my God, I can't believe I didn't get that audition. I was like, did you not see who they kept? It's not us. Let's go have lunch. Relax. This is not about personal feelings at all. And then if I was an audition and I got cut, I'd call my friends and be like, listen, you got to get here right now. Because put your hair in a ponytail and put your heels on because this show's perfect for you. And then my friends were like, oh, someday when you're an agent, will you be my agent? And I was like, oh, maybe that's what I am. And so after I did everything I needed to do as an actor, I, interned as an agent at an agency at age 37. So fun to be an intern at 37. But it was like, if you're going to change, you got to change careers. So I did that. I was an assistant, and then I was an agent, and I've been an agent now for almost 20 years, 19 years, I think. And I love it. It's great.
Nice.
Hi, everyone. My name is Marc Ferré. I'm with the Hoff Agency. I grew up as a competition dancer in New Jersey from 3 to 18, living the dance mom's life with my 2 younger sisters. All the while was the kind of kid that wanted to wear every hat he could in terms of I was editing music for all the dance studios in town. I was choreographing shows at our local theaters. I went to this film TV-focused high school. I always knew I wanted to be in the entertainment space, but dance was always the thing I thought that would kind of carry me through. Until my junior year of high school, I had a really bad knee injury that took me out for 6 months and kind of had me zoom out and really think about, is this what I want to pursue my education in? I have all these other interests and I want to work in entertainment. Let me kind of spread my interests a little wider. I was blessed to go to NYU for film and TV, thinking I wanted to be an editor, until I got there and realized that meant like sitting in a dark room all day and not talking to anyone, and realized I was craving a little more personal interaction than that kind of lane was giving. All the while, my advisors, being that kid who was interested in all these different spaces, pushed me to intern at a talent agency, because it's kind of the one place where all of those kind of jobs and tasks are kind of relevant. I had no idea what an agent did, other than that it was something my actor friends were like afraid of. And it's not like you can really take a class, or at least in that time, you couldn't really take a class on what it meant to be an agent or what that kind of did. It was this kind of silent sector of the business. I had my first internship at CAA, which is like obviously a huge agency with all these different moving parts. And I was fascinated at how little of the people that I was interacting with were performers, and I quickly realized how valuable having that experience, being on the other side of things and actually getting to talk to talent and have an actual understanding of what was going through their mind and what was happening in the room, how much value they found in a rep that really understood that in a specific way. When I was at CAA, ironically, I was actually in their unscripted TV department representing production. I was on a desk that represented production companies, which at the beginning of my time there, I was my boss represented more like lifestyle shows, like the creators of The Real Housewives of Orange County, and we repped Gordon Ramsay's production company. And as like a reality TV fan from New Jersey, I was like, this is it. I've made it. Wow, this is so exciting. But as I spent more time there, they started to come to me and were like, could you help pitch this sports documentary or this Duck Dynasty spinoff, or these things I had no passion for? And a lot of my mentors at the time would always instill in us that, being an agent in a specific field really meant you had to have a lot of passion for that field. It's kind of a glamorous job, but in reality and in the daily weeds of doing this, it's quite thankless. It's absorbing a lot of negative energy, so you're setting your clients up for the most positive, experience they could have in any given moment. And I kind of had this aha moment of, why am I not like working with my friends that were starting to enter the industry that were complaining about their agents, or why am I running away from the field that I know so well? And I moved to a smaller boutique agency called The Mine, where I started working with actors and working in a little more of a developmental space. And it was the best decision I've ever had. Like, all those hats I used to wear kind of came together in one job, and that I'm editing clients' reels, I'm retouching their headshots, I'm actively pitching them for, all these different projects, and seeing how that experience as a performer and being like honest and real with my clients about what they're going through really, it kind of defined what being an agent meant to me. And I think having worked in all these different offices, that personal connection you have with someone kind of usurps any great connection they have or any flashy name on the door. If you really find that person and that teammate that uplifts you and supports you and absorbs that energy and really understands you as a person, like, that is the real value, just the winning aspect you can have in your reps. Not focusing on the name on the door, and just that connection you have with someone that really gets you is the most important thing to me.
Yeah, beautifully
that
put.
was the question.
Yeah. With the business changing practically on a daily basis, how would you define the role of an agent now? Because you've all worked at you've all worked your way up with your own agencies and working for other agents. This business has changed, which you must see every day. So how do you define, for people looking for one, how do you define an agent, like what you do now? It's a big question.
It is, and I'm gonna kind of hearken it to what I used to say on a daily basis as a manager. If you want to boil down the difference between an agent and manager, it is that managers are not franchised with the union, which means their contracts are not a part of this. And specifically, they are not regulated. Whereas agents, there is a clause which a lot of people don't recognize, that we are actual employment agents. We have to get you work. There is a time limit on that, all that stuff, blah, 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 but I'm not going to tell you guys because you know your own contracts, right? Suffice it to say, I would say that our jobs have changed significantly because we are in one of the most oversaturated markets at this point, given the dual strike a couple of years ago, which we're not going to bring up at all. That was the last time you've heard it. Prior to that was the whole Coco, thing going on. Let's just say I like to reference a show that I don't watch ever, Friends. It's a pivot. Every day is a pivot. And if you think that what happened last year is going to happen this year, it's not true. In fact, this summer we had pilot season.
Yeah.
We still have pilots being released right now. If anyone's old enough to know what a pilot season is, it's generally January to April. So pivot. That's the best way I can explain right now, agents, is we have people that we have to employ. So rather than, sorry, Mark, having to edit your reel for you, we don't have that time. We have to employ you, and given the landscape, that takes a lot of time for us to talk to the people who actually have that power. So I like to always say, would you rather me talk to you or about you?
Yeah. Beautifully put.
That was great.
Yeah.
That was great. I think, am I on?
You're yep.
I think, what was the question?
How your job as an agent has changed today, but also I love the manager-agent thing too. You really hit upon that a lot.
I was a manager while I was having my million kids, and I was managing for a while. It was very hand-holdy, which is what the manager is supposed to, I think. And I held hands. For me, I have had to transition to letting go a little bit. Kind of like, yes, I can't edit your tape for you. I can tell you if I think I'm going to submit it or not, but I'm not going to spend a half hour on your tape when I have 15 other tapes that I need to make sure they make the deadline. Please don't be late with your tapes. Yeah. Okay? We don't want to chase casting and have them angry at us. It has changed because we have got to be so on top of it all the time. Our nerves, I can speak for me. I mean, it's like, did this breakdown come out? Get it out. Get the pictures out now. We can't wait 3 days. Get it out now. It's like, it is so saturated now. I mean, I am here. I'm New York, but we do handle LA. Yeah. And the amount of work compared LA to New York, this whole East Coast is very busy compared to that coast. Yeah. But it feels like there are so many more actors. So we are very careful. I feel like the competition is intense, so be on your game. I don't want to have to ask 12 times, where is your dance reel? Because if you don't care enough to give me a dance reel, then you don't care. But I have somebody right here waiting in line who really cares and has her dance reel. So it's stuff like that it's changed. It's not so loosey-goosey. It's intense. It doesn't mean it's not kind. Yeah. Okay, kind. There's still kindness. It's just business is business. Yeah. And get to business. So, that's my serious talk.
And I think that how to define an agent is, for me, it's 50% sales, 50% therapist. So there's 50% of my time. All you want is for me to try to get you in the room, and so that's not an automatic thing, because the cast director only has so many hours to watch so many tapes, so they have to decide who's going to get forward, who's going to get into the room. And I'm going to try to get my people in the room, and I'm going to sell them. I'm going to pitch. I'm going to do everything I can to get them in the room, but I'm also going to get to know you really well. I'm going to find out what's happening in your life. I'm going to find out what triggers you or what doesn't trigger you. And if I feel like you're getting sabotaging yourself, I need you to stop that, because we got in the room. So now let's do what you do. Show up and be that. So it is working with the clients as well as working with the casting directors and using both sides of my brain to figure out how to get to the next step. next level.
Yeah, no, I mean, I completely echo and agree with the comment on agenting equals therapy. They often are very similar conversations. I think in today's agenting today versus like pre versus post pandemic, the relationship has become a lot more intimate because I think we're along for the ride in terms of an audition process in a lot closer of a way than we were before. It used to be an actor would go in for an appointment. We would take casting's word for what happened in the room because it wasn't something your agent sees. But today, you're taping, your agent's watching it. They're making sure they watch the entire tape, hopefully, before they send it along. There may be a callback. There may be a second or third tape. So we're really along the ride for not only the process, but just the work with the actor. So I think we become a little more inside your mind. And that often results in, I think, better therapy and just being on the same page with your talent a lot more. So just remembering that that's a part of the job. Yes, being an agent, it requires negotiating your contract, getting you work. That's all the given. But helping people not feel like they're just another number in the noise and really tailoring your representation toward the human being because you're along for that specific ride and have a real specific window into what they do as opposed to just what they're going in for just means the relationship is more intimate than it's ever been. And I think more relevant. It really helps to have an agent on your team in today's day and age more so than it did before.
Sure. How many clients do each of you handle?
Mm-hmm. I work with around 100. I share my roster. I represent around 140 people. I share it with my partner, Dustin Flores. The agency itself is much bigger. We kind of operate that every agent has their kind of own roster. We pool resources together as a company, so an actor is not signing to a team of 6 people and feels lost in the sauce of this greater operation. Yeah. But I work with around 140 people with my partner in TV, film, and theater.
Nice. And there's 4 of us, 4 agents at CGF, and we work with about 200 clients.
So I'm just going to go on this. We have 16 agents.
Yeah.
However, there's a voiceover department, there's a commercial department, kids, so it's divvied up. What I like to say when somebody says, how many clients do you have? Personally, me, I say, really, it's how many clients in your category do I have? Because a 5-year-old is not going to really be competing with you.
Unless they're really talented.
Yeah,
Unless they really, they have that age range going. I would say probably about 150 altogether. Yeah. I personally do not like to double up because, and similarly, I cannot speak.
I like that word though.
Well, if I'm not.
Let it come out anyway, it has to come out.
Okay. We do share internally.
Yeah.
But same kind of thing. Everybody kind of has their own lane.
Yeah. Beautiful.
I co-run the film, television, and theater, also known as FTT, so use it. It's very cool. It's fetch. And between the 3 agents, we have 173.
It sounds like a lot, but like I said, they all have multiple departments.
How many were at CAA?
What's that?
Mark?
Yeah.
Who, clients? Just add some zeros. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
So to what degree are you building a roster right now? And are you looking for a range of actors in your roster, or do you maintain multiple actors of the same type? Because sometimes agents will be like, if someone goes in, they'll be like, oh, I like what you do, but I already have too many of you and I don't know what to do with them. So are you looking right now, or?
I mean, I can speak. So
Yeah.
like if I have people who are out on tour, that leaves a hole in my roster. So I need to fill that. If I have somebody who's on a series and they're locked in, I need to fill that role of that kind of person. Listen, everybody's different.
Yeah.
But it also, I personally am very careful because I don't want to create that internal competition within my agency. So whoever wants to bring a client, we meet on Tuesdays and we throw down the resume and we say, who is your top person here? Who is he competing with? Blah, blah, blah. So that it's not that competition.
Beautiful.
Did
I like
that?
that.
Okay.
I would say we always are looking.
Yeah.
Not necessarily aggressively or intensely, but when we meet somebody and if all 4 of us fall in love and go, wow, we met this person, and then we went home and went to sleep, and all I could do is think of this person and how many people I want to introduce them to, and what shows they're going to be great for, or what network I think I really can't wait for them to do something in. Then I know I'm going to be a great agent for that person. But we don't necessarily go out and we're like, oh, we're looking for 7 more people this month. We're not doing that. But when we meet the right person, it's the right person. And it's weird because I personally hate that whole like, oh, sorry, we have too many in your type, because there's nobody like you. You are completely unique and different.
Yeah.
But the reality is, if we have a lot of women who are in their 40s and you're like, hey, it's a tough time right now, and we're trying to do what we can to get these people seen and in the right rooms. And if we bring too many people in that same age group, not necessarily the same type, but then we have to look at and going, can we promise to give you the service that we want to be known for? And if we can't, or if it's not a unanimous decision, then it's not the right fit.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a great way to think about type. I hate the word type. It feels
Yeah.
like such an old way of thinking, but it becomes relevant in certain instances, I guess. I like to think of it a little more as like it's very hard to sign on a large group of people at the same stage in your career. So there's no harm in having two women who may look very similarly and have could play the same roles that are in their 40s. If one is further along in their career that may have other projects lined up and one's a little more developmental, that's actually an instance where it could be a great idea to sign both of them. When one's not available, you have someone else to push that you really believe in and sign for other reasons outside of their type. But when you're working with a large amount of people kind of in the same place in their career and you're chasing a lot of the same opportunities, that does everyone a disservice. And I love what Michael said. You're not able to provide the service that you're promising. And I think a lot of the time when we pass on a client, it rarely has to do with talent. Most of the time when an agent, or at least when I'm meeting with someone, the talent is already there. It's about all the other, aspects that go into, making this relationship with each other that may deter the conversation. But yeah, the type in the way I think it's commonly thought of isn't really how we look at it. It's just more about where are you at in your career, and am I able to provide that same service to someone else I represent who may be in the same spot.
Yeah. When I knew I was going to do this, I know a lot of actors. If I go into a restaurant or whatever else, and I talk to people, and I said, what is your biggest issue with an agent? And they said, my agent can't get me into the rooms. And I know you all do, but I'm just saying that's one of the biggest misconceptions with a lot of people who I know, and some are in this room right now, that they're agents. I know there's only so many people that somebody can see. But it's hard now. It's very, very hard, because you said, when you were saying, there are so many more actors now. But it's like, you sign with an agent, then you realize, I've had an agent for a year and I've had no auditions, because I can't get into the rooms I want to get into. And I wonder, do you have those conversations sometimes with actors, or, is that a hard thing now? Are you all pushing as agents to be like, yeah, I have 5 people, I want to get in the room. You have 5 people, you want to get in the room. You each do, and you're like, wait a minute, they're not going to see 100 people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think that an agent can get you in the room.
Okay.
The most powerful agent of all of New York
Yeah.
is not automatically guaranteed the 12 people that they want in the room are going into the room. Your acting, your skills, your reputation, your resume is getting into the room. Now, I may grease the doorknob and get you in. That sounded weird, but never mind. Don't grease anything. No, but I might have to contact the cast director and said, hey, I appreciate the appointments you gave me. I think you're missing one right here.
Yeah.
But I want 20 people in the room.
Yeah.
And if I get 5 or 6, that could be a really successful submission. But when I was an actor, I was like, I'm just tired of this. I'm going to go be an agent. Now I'm going to have all the power in the world. I can do anything. And then you realize, oh, no, you're just as desperate as anybody else, because there are hundreds of us. And we are all submitting really talented actors. And the casting directors, Marcy Phillips at ABC, only has so much time in her day to watch tapes or whatever, and has to think about this. Like, Michael, I appreciate these pushes. This is what we're looking for the lead of this new series. And you have to be realistic. What you're not looking for is a developmental, discovery necessarily. Sometimes if it's CBS, you have to have had like 3 or 4 series already. Yeah. But then you look at the breakdown and go, well, where can I get my people in, and where does your resume make it fit that you should go in? And if it is specifically you and it's the lead, then it's a phone call going, look, I know you don't know this person very well. I think they're the one. And that's when your reputation will at least give you that favor, or give you that, you know what, you've never steered me wrong before, Michael, I will see your person, absolutely have them tape. So nobody can get you in the room. We can only help so much, but it's the casting director who has to figure out how much time they have, as well as what they know the director wants. Like, we can't just give you an opportunity if the director's like, no, what I want is this. Then that casting director's job is like, find as many of those people as we can to solve this problem.
Oh, no, I would say that's wonderful.
Yeah, I just want to add on to that.
Yeah.
It's interesting just to bring up a particular thing, and this is a neutral comment. There used to be only rooms, and now there are self-tapes.
Yeah.
And as soon as the self-tapes came in, everyone was very excited. They had control over what they were doing, and then it became, I want to go back in the room. Yeah. And I'm not making a comment on that. I'm merely saying the self-tapes are trying to be released, and people in theater are trying to get you back in the room.
Yeah.
They're not going away for film and television.
Yeah.
Yes, they have to offer Zoom sessions, and I can tell you one casting director that I know that will really prefer that. So let's just say getting in the room with a self-tape is a lot easier than getting you in an actual room. So I would be happy that we have those opportunities because we do get more appointments than we normally would in the room, because they're only going to see a maximum of 40 people a day.
Yeah.
And now they're seeing 140 because they can do that on their own time while they're sitting there watching The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. So I would just say this is an auspicious time for people who normally would not get into the room to get into the room because maybe they don't have the resume. However, that doesn't mean that they're going to get the job, but look at it as a very positive thing. You just got to network with a casting director that you normally wouldn't have.
And I'm just going to piggyback on that. When I say, and I was making a joke, but not really, don't be late with your tapes.
Yeah.
Because think about how many other people were afforded that opportunity to tape. But again, it also ups the competition because now the people who are not being seen in the room, 40 people maybe, are taping from all over. I don't remember what casting director I was just speaking to. Maybe it was for Parallax or something. I don't know who it was. She's like, you're not going to believe how many submissions I got for this one role. Yeah. Try me. 4,500.
Yeah.
45. And that's, of course. Why? It's coming from LA, Chicago, Florida, wherever. And they tape.
Mm-hmm. And that was probably Donna, who is in the market that's not even New York. So you can imagine that if you want to be submitted for Boston Blue, they're getting 2,000 submissions within the first hour.
Oh, yeah.
So it's more important for me to work on the breakdown than talk to you.
Absolutely.
Okay, bye.
Yeah.
Totally. And just to chime in on this topic, because I think it's so important, I think it's really easy to get that tape request and just be annoyed that they're asking you to tape, right? But in the same sense that the industry and the landscape of all of this is changing for agents and for actors, it also is in the same way for casting directors. Yeah. And if someone is taking the time out of their day to send you that tape request, please be punctual with it. Treat it as that in-person audition. On the flip side, there is a certain mindset of a certain type of actor that also is well, if they're not going to see me in the room, I don't want to come in. Or if they're going to see me in the room, can I at least be pushed to final callbacks? I know everyone here. I've heard all of those thoughts. Yeah. Casting director, it costs way more, especially in theater, for a Broadway casting director. The audition space costs way more than the fee that the casting director actually gets to cast the show. So when you think about it in that context, taking any sort of in-person opportunity and treating that just as valuable as a booking. It's not, but getting that in-person FaceTime is so rare. And there is a taste level that casting will pick up on when you're the one that turns in your tapes almost as soon as you can, or is the first to confirm that appointment, or gladly accepts that in-person pre-screen even though it's for a casting director and you're rolling your eyes that you have to go do it. It really goes a long way to show that respect back, because it's a tough time for everyone. Yeah.
May I ask, because I was behind the curtain and I didn't see, how many people have agents?
Great question.
Cool. So when you get an audition, what is your turnaround time is really the question, because let's put theater aside for a second because we're in SAG-AFTRA. What is the turnaround time? Well, the strike now says you must have 48 hours, correct? Don't wait.
Yeah, I was good.
Sorry, and that is nothing about that clause. I'm not making a comment on it. I am saying, coming from casting, I can guarantee you that they've already gone through a list of people.
Yeah.
They've already made offers. When they're actually starting to look, they need it now.
Yeah.
There's some offices that have never offered the 48 hours, but yes, they have. And just know that by the time that you get the appointment, the first and only thing that you should be doing is getting ready to get it in early.
Yeah.
They have to send their link to producers as soon as possible of their choices. If you wait until after 48 hours or the very end of the deadline, they've probably already sent some of their selects over to producers. And by the time that deadline arrives, they may have already cast it.
Yeah.
So please prioritize this because we prioritize it for you. So please prioritize it for yourself.
That is really beautifully put. Clap on that, because this was something I was going to bring up. When you say there's like 4,500 submissions, they're going to look at the early ones. They're going to look at those first 100 that come in, and with the other submissions that have come in, that is it. I mean, no one can look through, if you have 48 hours to cast a role, can look at 4,000 self-tapes. So what you just said is get it in early. Accept that and work on that right away and get that thing in.
That's the nicest thing I can possibly say. I
No, no.
mean, now, I'm also going to say something that I'm not allowed to say. Still be memorized. Like, so don't, I'm not saying you should as a franchise agent, obviously. But if you need a few hours to get it,
Yeah.
at least read through it,
Oh, yeah.
know what you're doing with this character, take that time. Don't immediately tape it with no preparation. So I don't want to be misconstrued here.
Yeah.
Like, do your work, but still try to prioritize it so it gets in early.
No, I think that's really, yeah.
Absolutely. Also, I was going to say, know yourself and know, it used to be back in the day, you'd go into the room and you could work the room. Oh my God, I love your necklace. And, when you have that little bit of banter back and forth, you become the mayor of the room. But, you don't have that opportunity anymore. So they do offer a few slots for Zoom. I have some clients who love that. It's the closest they can be. And sometimes it's schmoozing that happens, and sometimes it's right to work, thank you, bye. Like NCIS, there's no gushy. It's like, give me the lines, okay, thanks, bye. Other casting directors, But know yourself, know your strengths. Know if you know how to handle yourself on a Zoom, and you're delivering at the peak, or you do better on, a tape. I have a client, and great resume and blah, 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 blah. I watched him do this Zoom because I was there, and he was like this. I said, well, that's not going to happen again. So, yeah.
You're doing a self-tape from now on, right?
Self-tape, baby.
So do you go out looking for talent? Do you go to showcases, shows, small screenings? I know you have people come to you. Where do you go to look for new talent? I mean, people, because there's a lot of discoveries, and I know they come out of certain things. I know a lot of people run to all the CMUs. I shouldn't use names, but I mean, they all run to these high-end colleges. There's so much talent everywhere in the United States. I know major casting offices that used to cast everything on Broadway that just went to other cities to find people to do these shows and everything else. I know some people do, some people don't. But someone needs to open the door for the new people. And I went, how many doors do you want to open, or do you open? Seriously, when someone comes to you, do you sit there and say, well, I like this person. I can work with this person. I think I can get this person a job, as opposed to saying, I have too many people.
I can speak for us.
Yeah.
I mean, in the theater world,
Yeah.
I'm always looking.
Yeah.
I'm a theater rat. It's my
Yeah.
world. So if somebody hits me smack in the face and their talent is like this God-given crazy talent,
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm in love. That's it. You're coming to us.
Yeah.
So it's a gut. It's a relationship. It's falling in love with their craft, with who they are, and just like you said, it's all of it's who you are and getting to know the person, not just the business end.
Yeah.
What brings you joy? Who are you? So I don't know how I got off on that.
I think that most of the ways we've done it have find our clients are showcases that we go to, shows that we go to that we have clients in that you happen to see somebody else in and go, I just can't stop thinking about that person. If a casting director says, I'd love to recommend somebody to you, we listen intensely because that already means that that casting director loves that person and will be bringing them in. And so they know what they see and do every day. So a casting director's recommendation means a lot, as does a director, as does a manager, that we respect and like. So all the different ways, as well as we get emails all the time. We get, you send things in the mail and we look at them. And you know what? That's really hard to get an appointment that way, but it's not impossible. When a headshot comes through and you're like, why can I not stop looking at this person? Or you look at the resume and go, oh, this is weird, like such great credits. What is going on? And there's a story here as to why they need an agent now. I'd love to know more about it. Might make me call, might make me email, might make me say, hey, send me a reel, send me more stuff. So all of the options are available, and it is a matter of who gets into your head and does not leave.
I just want to say something in as roundabout a way as I can. I think I don't go to such showcases. Most of them are already represented, but also we all, as agents, go to them. I will not fight for a client. Yeah. Why is that? Now, wait, let me rephrase.
Yeah.
I will fight for a client of mine to get in and to succeed. I will not fight someone else for a client. This kind of harkens to probably a question that I'm sure is going to come soon, but what is the agent-actor relationship really about? And I always like to say, this is the most Gen Z thing that I'm clearly not, do you vibe? We all get the same breakdowns. We all have our own style of pitching. Yeah. We all have our own ways of greasing the doorknob.
Well, we don't do that. We don't do that.
Not gonna tell you what mine is. But I think it's very important to understand that I will take people on that I've seen on the street. I will take people on if they're recommended to me by another client. I will literally ask my client who works on the new J-Lo film, is she looking? She's not, by the way. There are ways, many different ways, and it's not always with a showcase or by a connection or something like that. Do your own research on SAG-AFTRA's website and look up these agents. Look up their client list. Go on IMDb Pro. Wow, I'm just promoting a lot of places right now. But do your own research. Yeah. Look at the client list. See what they get and what kind of person that you think that they are. Not everyone is going to like me. I'm about as blunt as it gets. Yeah. But I do it for the betterment of my clients. Some people will understand that. Some people won't.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well, let's get into that. Was my next question anyway. No, I love that you started this. The agent-actor relationship and everything else. What you expect, what you want to expect from them, and vice versa. Because people, like I said, people sign, what do they do? So who wants to take that next?
Yeah. Oh, no, you're fine.
Well, I was going to say that we have to know every single relationship that we have with a client is completely different and completely unique. So I've had trouble before when someone's like, well, I saw that you had dinner with so-and-so. Why don't we ever have dinner? I'm like, well, this is a moment. This is another moment. Like everyone, and listen, I have some clients who are like, look, I don't really want to get to know you as a friend. You send me my appointments. I'm going to do my work. I'm going to send my stuff in. That's amazing. We have a business relationship. Yeah. Others I will get to know really closely, and something major will happen in their lives. Look, I'm going to a client's wedding. I don't go to all the clients' weddings. Sometimes I'm not invited. But so each one is totally different and has to be authentic and true and real and not forced, or it's not going to work. So whatever your goal is, I want my relationship to be just like this. it's like a friend. It's like any relationship. It has to be cultivated, and if it works, it's great. But it is completely different. Each one's unique.
I love that.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to echo the same thing. I mean, you took the words out of my mouth earlier in that it really always is a vibe check. I hate to say that, but it's true. Your talent is inevitable walking into that conversation. So I think the thing I love to find is also just a real human on the other end of it. It's very easy to turn into like an actor robot. And if your rep is making you feel like that, they're never ultimately going to understand like the human behind that wall. So just being able to acknowledge when that relationship and vibe is authentic, when it's not, and following that train of thought, I think, is how we navigate who we decide to work with. Because at the end of the day, that's also going to be the best agent for the actor. And I'm also very conscious of signing someone that I'm not sure I'm capable of delivering the expectation that I'm setting forth. So making sure that whatever the conversation that we have addresses all of those concerns and makes that relationship feel as solid and trustworthy and comfortable as possible is what we look for. But it's just really bringing, it sounds cheesy to say, but just bringing yourself and the human being to that relationship as much as you can. 99% of the conversations that we have, probably won't be about a booking. It'll be about, this didn't go your way. Or it'll be, I can't tape because I have this important personal thing going on, or, whatever the reason is. They're not always glamorous conversations. So making sure that you're comfortable enough with that person who needs to hear them is really important. And I've seen a lot of, friends of mine sign with agents that ultimately weren't able to reciprocate that, and that often like stunts your career in bigger ways than not getting seen for this one project could. So, yeah.
And there are some times also where a client will think to themselves, I don't want to get too close with somebody, so I'm not going to tell you everything. And there are moments when you say, actually, I don't want to tape for that project, and I'm like, oh, okay, let's unpack that a little bit, because CBS is asking you to tape per series regular. So can you educate me as to why? But it may be the topic. It may be, I read the pilot and I saw that this character is sort of written as a two-dimensional stereotype, and I'm not interested in portraying that. Yeah. And that's legit. That's real. So really, for me, I want to dive into a little bit more about what's going on. Why could you not tape? Like, is something going on in your life that I need to know about? And some people are like, well, I didn't think you needed to know, but I just broke up with my boyfriend and I'm a mess. Yeah. And I'm like, this is something I need to know. I need to know that we need to be sort of like gentle for the next couple days, and then I'm going to tell you to snap out of it and let's get to business. But we need to understand. There's so many times when I say I don't want to tape for this, and I'm like, can you just expand on that so that I can understand it? Because the more I understand about you and what's going through your mind and what is making you make these decisions, then the better agent I'm going to be for you.
Yeah,
That makes so much- sorry.
I'm so sorry. That was me. Just 100%. And I think that is a really great, important thing to touch on. In that communication that we have about an instance that Michael just talking about, that's what we use to go back to casting. So as much valuable information as I can glean as to why you're passing on something, why something isn't as comfortable for you. Sometimes casting doesn't get it, especially like I represent a lot of like trans and non-binary clients, and that community is not a monolith. Just because one person identifies in a certain way doesn't mean that's a story they want to tell. Sometimes when I'm talking to, a casting director who may not get that, or may not be, the more specific I can get as to why, the better taste they'll have in their mouth as to why you're passing. And sometimes people are offended when an actor passes on a project. But if we're really getting to the root of why, and you're trusting that rep with that information to do with it what they see fit, like you'll just be left in casting's better taste and in better taste with producers, because you're trusting what that person's doing with the information.
Yeah.
And this
Amy.
all comes down to communication.
Yeah.
And being upfront and honest, and absolutely the vibe. You know when you click with someone, and that's very funny that you said that, because I also had dinner with a client who I've had for over a decade at this point, and there was a picture, and another client got upset, and it felt really uncomfortable. It was like one of these like weird boyfriend-girlfriend kind of things, and and I had to do a check-in with myself. Did I do something wrong? Yeah. And then I started to get angry at that client, and I was having this whole episode, and it took up way too much space. So boundaries too are something. With Instagram and messaging and this, be careful, respect the boundaries. We work so hard. Yeah. And just because you have one 15-minute heart-to-heart conversation about I got divorced and my kids and this and that, and and it's a deep conversation, and there was a connection. Okay, that doesn't mean that every day we're sharing recipes and I need to know. But it's a very fine line, because as actors, I would kind of liken this a little bit with us with casting. Like when we start to hang out with a new casting director, you're like, oh, it's my new best friend. And like, but listen, it's human nature, right?
Yeah.
You clicked with your agent, and now, she's going to submit me and pitch me for everything. And it's like, relax a minute. We still have to work.
Yeah.
So just really respect the boundaries of work.
I'm still going back when someone said I'm not taping for CBS.
Can you imagine?
No, I totally get it, but I'm like,
You need to tell us why.
yeah, so exactly.
Like, no matter what,
Yeah.
I think that people think that we are the ones that care. We don't. Casting will ask us, why are they passing?
Yeah, totally. You have to have an answer for them.
And I'll be like, because they don't like you? They don't like CBS? We need you to communicate everything that's going on. Don't expect us to communicate our thoughts about it. And you give them days? I'd give you guys 2 hours to get over a breakup.
Yep.
Then
good.
get back
Yep.
to it.
Good for you. I wanted to say something. You all do film and television too, and that's all switched now, especially on television, with co-stars and guest stars. And this is the big thing right now: is how does somebody new that is perfect for a co-star, if they don't have one, how do you get one? Because now guest stars are now taking co-stars. I watch it all the time on TV, like, oh my God, that's a Tony Award-winning actor. They have one line. And I'm like, remember there was newbies in the business would get a co-star, and then you had once you had one or two, it's like, these casting directors would see, oh my God, you've done 2 on CBS for blah, 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 blah. Now NBC's gonna see you. Now it's switching where I'm like, I just saw that person in a big movie and they have, the telephone is for you. And I'm like, what? So I'm just saying, do you get frustrated that way with clients too, that should be getting a co-star over a guest star, and they come to you and say, why can't, it's a catch-22, it seems like. It's like, well, they have no co-stars. I'm like, well, give them one. No, but you know what I mean?
I told everybody, because last year was a difficult year, especially right after the strikes, and it was like, okay, now it's open again. We're like, okay, the floodgates are going to open. We're going to get so many appointments. And then they were very specific as to who got the jobs, and they were offering a lot of things out. And I realized that all of that year, which was I think 2 years ago or 1 year ago, the theme was Meryl Streep is doing guest stars.
Yeah.
She did a recurring guest star on Only Murders in the Building
Yeah.
because she wanted to have a good time, and she got to do that.
Yeah.
And kudos, she's incredible and was great in it. But that also said, some of our people who only do guest stars aren't going to get that guest star. Yeah. And sometimes, like on Elsbeth, the breakdown will come out and it'll be oh great, this person's in 3 scenes, that's amazing. And then casting will be like, hey, I've just been told because of budgetary reasons this one is going to be a co-star. And you read the sides and you're like, oh no, this is a guest star. This would always be a top of show $10,000 job. And she's like, yeah, but this time around it's going to be a $3,000 job because networks are going to save some money on this. And so I like to say to most people, listen, all the rules are there are no rules.
Yeah.
It's all out the window. There are certain shows, if you want to do, then we're going to look at some co-stars. Only Murders, and Just Like That was like this.
Yeah.
I mean, all the ones that the star-studded, everyone wanted to be on them, and they were going to get lots of Tony Award winners and all the other things. Then you figure out, great, give me a really fun co-star where I get a good scene out of it, and then it doesn't really matter where my billing is because my IMDb is going to still say I played Molly.
Yeah.
And no one will know. So if I get good tape out of it, it'll be great. So I mostly will say there's not necessarily those rules until we see what the lines are. If it's one line, then it's not so exciting. But if it's a good scene and they said they're going to pay a co-star, then we have a talk about it and say, I think you should still go in because this is the state of the business right now.
Yeah.
And that's what casting and producers, I think, are also view it in that way. Like the rules are not as firm as they were. Or, there are clients who will book their first job and it'll be a guest star because perhaps it was something hyper specific. Yeah. And then they always have in the back of their mind, but am I going to go do a co-star now that I did this guest star and I'm moving up depending on what it is, it could be valuable. So I think also trusting your team and trusting your rep if you're working with one as to what they think is worth your while and what's not in those conversations, and not letting ego or your friend group who may be chatting with you and being like, oh, you're going to go in for that? Don't listen to them. Trust the people that you are working with and trust that their opinion will speak to the greater sense of what's going on.
Trust your rep. I really want to just push that. Trust your team. You know, we're doing it for you. We don't, I get this all the time. I'm not going out. Am I going out? It's like, and I say this, and I probably sound a lot like you. But I say, you're cute, but I don't have you on my roster because you're not that cute that I want to look at you all the time, every day.
Yeah.
Okay? But seriously, like, you know what I mean. I love you. You know that. But it's like the Wild West out there.
Yeah.
It really is. And that's so funny. You said that. I have somebody who's very close to me who is an actor, a little older, guest star. Please go out for this. It's a recurring, or it can be a recurring. Go for it. No, I'm not going out for it. Finally went out for it, and it turned into like a 6-episode arc.
Yeah.
I was like, haha. it's my husband, so I was able to do that. But it's like, but it's again, it is the Wild West. They're not going to see it on your IMDb Pro.
Yeah.
Do the work. Because work, I believe, and I'm sure my colleagues do as well, work gets work gets work. It's another relationship. It's like your tapes. There's no wasted audition if you are kicking ass and doing an unreal audition. Because that casting director you may not fit for the role they're casting, but they'll have you in their mind. You have a fan. You know?
I want to just put a cap on this. No. I'm going to go even more so into how wonderful my personality is.
Oh, fabulous.
There are a lot of business aspects to this thing called show business, not show fun. I don't know how many of you guys have seen those illegal breakdowns that everyone loves to share with one another. Right, okay. So co-stars nowadays are basically saying 20s to 60s, any ethnicity, any gender. There's a reason why they're saying that. And the reasoning is there is a rule that a certain amount of people and a certain amount of diversity need to be represented. And I do not say that as a negative.
Yeah.
I think that's fantastic that it's being forced upon them because we need to see that. However, that means what they're going to do with these co-stars is find their top person of color, find their top white person, find their top non-binary, find these people real quick. And as soon as you become in that casting office's space, they're going to keep calling you in. Why? Because you turned your tape in on time or early and professional. And they know that when they then send you without that credit that you're so desperate for, they can speak to their producers and say, I promise you they got their tape in, they're professional. They're not going to waste $1 million by screwing up that one line. And that's how you get that one credit. That opens these doors for you.
Right? No, it's just become so. I talk to so many actors who are like, they're just so upset now because it used to be like, it's so hard. They're like, well, they don't have any. Like, well, give them one. But like I said, you have to do that extra push of just saying they're really good. They'll go in there and deliver this with 2 takes or 1 take and then give them a cleanup or whatever or an adjustment, and they'll do it. Let's talk about the clients you have that have a manager also. How does that dynamic work with an agent and a manager? I'm sure it's all varies if someone has a crazy manager or a manager you want to work with or, who talks to you on the phone all the time and says, why is my client not being seen? Let's just talk about that dynamic with all of you.
I can talk about that.
Yeah.
I'll go quick. I love working with managers.
Yeah.
I have my texts with every manager. Hey, are you going to pitch or you want me to pitch?
Yeah.
It's good communication
Yeah.
with most of them. It wasn't until this year, and I've been doing this a really long time, that I had met this one manager, and who will remain nameless. She became competitive with me. It was a little weird. I was like, we're making the same meal here.
Yeah.
Like we're on the same team. Yeah. It was really uncomfortable, and ultimately the client, he was with her longer and stayed and then tried to come back, and I was like, not if you're going to work with her. We don't jive.
Yeah.
But typically it's fine. We have different roles, as we spoke about earlier, and usually it's very amicable and nice, and we all play together in the sandbox.
Which it should be.
Which it should be.
Yeah. Anybody want to add on that?
Yeah, I think when you make the decision to expand your team, whether you have a manager, you're looking to bring on an agent, or vice versa, there always needs to be an intention. Like, I think it is always a red flag to your career when you're just adding to your team to have a bigger team.
Yeah.
Agents in general, they do the same thing. Like, we all are required to work under the Department of Consumer Affairs' rules as in getting people work. In the same way any headhunter does, there are rules that we have to follow. As Chris mentioned earlier, that managers are totally unregulated, and managers can add the value a manager can add to the team can greatly vary. There are some managers that are really in the weeds of getting appointments. There are other managers that don't really operate in that space. They're more getting you into parties and kind of are more publicist-focused managers. There are other managers, honestly, that I have or that I work with clients that are literally just CC'd on the email. That's like, great work. Like, there's a breed of manager that's there to really help the client get up in the morning and get the acting coach and help them put the tape together. So there just needs to be an intention as to why you're bringing that person on. If you're just doing it to have a bigger team, like, why are you paying that extra 15% to your manager, 10% to your agent, whatever that shakes out to be? Some of my top clients don't have managers, because they don't feel they need that, that value isn't missing anywhere else in that relationship, and that's also okay too. Just being intentional as to why, and also then your rep, whether it's an agent or manager at the time, can help specify which agent or manager is the best fit for you. There just has to be intention guiding that conversation. I also think, I will also say this too, a lot of higher level managers don't sign contracts. So I sometimes think when a manager is like shoving a contract in your face and is saying sign, that can sometimes be a red flag. Yeah. I've seen a lot of crazy manager contracts where, there was one in particular that years ago I had a client that I inherited stuck in the situation where their manager had some clause in their agreement that if the actor got more than 15 appointments a year, the contract would automatically renew for another 2 years, but it doesn't designate if the manager or the agent gets the appointment. So we as the agency were getting all the appointments. This client ultimately came to a point where they were like, I want to level up my management. I'm not really feeling like this is a fit anymore. And they were stuck in a contract because they didn't read the fine print. So remembering that managers don't operate in the same standard rules. All of our contracts as agents will look the same. As managers, they won't. And if someone you are signing with a manager, making sure you're really intentional about why, if you're putting ink to the page, is really important.
I spent 15 of my 20 years in this industry as a manager,
Yeah.
so I'm going to step in and protect them a little bit.
Was I not? Was I disrespectful?
I mean, no, that contract sounds awful. Slash, why didn't I use that for 15?
Real.
No, I do like to remind actors, and it also applies to agents as well. Who's in charge of the relationship? Mm-hmm. It's actually you. Mm-hmm. It's not us. We work on your behalf. We are a general service agreement. We work in the service. It is our job to service you. No, don't. It is our job to service you. So if you think that a manager who takes an additional percentage that has absolutely nothing to do with what our job is for you is appropriate for you, do it. In fact, you can give away 100% of your income for all we care. It doesn't affect our job for you. Yeah. I do think it's very important to look at the manager, and it's beyond the vibe, jive, check. It's about understanding what you need from them. You are the person that's on stage or on camera. Decide what you need in your team. Sign away.
Beautiful. So on that note, I think we're going to take a few questions from the audience. Becca told you earlier that you can line up over here, and she'll walk you. This is your life. I want to thank you all, first of all, for being so honest. I have done this for a long time, and everyone's just so worried about, getting an agent and trying to find an agent, keeping an agent. This was really wonderful tonight, just so you all know that. Of course.
thank you for showing up. I've had manager for 10 years. My perception is that an agent is going to give me access to a higher level of role. Is that correct? Is that not correct?
My gut reaction was it's honestly a toss-up. I think there are some managers that I work with that have a lit department within their company that will have access to scripts before there's a casting director. We don't have a lit department in our agency, so they will be able to beat us to higher level roles before, it's even brought to our network to have an offer made out on it. So I think it just depends. Depends on who that agent is, and I think always looking at the company as a whole and figuring out, are there other spokes of the wheel that company works in that my rep may not? Those are always clues to figuring out, I guess, how widespread their connections can be. But it's a toss-up. Sometimes there are managers that have access to that. Sometimes there are agents that do. I think it just depends on the greater operation. That's fine.
Great.
Hi, you guys talked about leveling up representation. I wanted to hear your thoughts about when someone submits to your client list and already has an agent. Is that a positive or a negative?
I will take this one.
Yeah. Great question.
And I'm going to take it because guess what? We're people too. If you think you can do better than us, guess what I said before? We all have access to the same breakdowns. Something's not working. I do not try to poach anyone else's clients. If someone has a representative and then is suggested to me, I say, if they have had a conversation with that person and have said, I no longer want to be represented by you, I will take the meeting. But I have had numerous people poached from me over the years, even as a manager, even as an agent. That is unethical in my opinion. But I also recognize the reality of when CAA comes knocking on your door, am I CAA? No. So loyalty is actually something I respect, but I also am a realist. So no, I won't take a meeting unless I know that they are a free agent, so to speak. Be careful, because there are many people who have just jumped from agent to agent to agent because they haven't seen results quick enough. Recognize that may not be about the agent.
I think that it doesn't necessarily, if I'm interested in you and I'm excited about you and I find out that you have an agent and it's on your resume, then for me that's a story we need to understand and talk about. So it's not going to be a good thing or a bad thing getting you in a room or getting you out of a room. For me, it'll be just, I need to understand what is going on, what is it that you're missing, what is it that you're not having. And we do all know each other. We are close to people. So there are also times that I will call Mark and be like, hey, I just want to let you know one of your clients has reached out. I really like them. They're cool. I don't want you to think I'm doing something, off board, but I just want to let you know that I'm going to take a meeting.
And I think being as upfront as you can with what the situation is before, that should never be a surprise. I think there are times where I'll go to a showcase and an actor won't write that they're represented on the resume. Then they'll come into the office and it's something we figure out halfway into a meeting. That's when I think the potential shady thoughts come into your mind. But if you're just upfront with it and you're able to also articulate what's working and what's not, because that's going to be what someone asks of you. If you can answer that question respectfully and as above board as you can, there's no reason to not explore the conversation if you're feeling like you need to change. That's my thing.
I just want to say something to you. You can be careful what you say. It's just such a small community. We all talk. No, seriously, we all talk. So if you have nothing nice to say, really, don't say it. And keep to the facts. Why your management at this time is not working for you. Facts are facts. But please, and I say this to everybody, don't gossip. It will come back to us, and it's not a good look.
Yeah. There's always a respectful way to say it.
Yeah.
You just got to figure out what that is. Yeah. Totally.
I have kind of a similar question. If you've been with an agent for 7 years or so, a long time, and it feels within my agency there's been a lot of changes because of the conversation, the vibe is kind of maybe not there in the same way that it used to be. I'm wondering how to initiate conversations about that. I feel I'm working a lot, but it's like I don't feel like a team. So I think there's that question, and then another question that's kind of related is I met with a casting director who kind of said I should level up based on my resume to something higher than a boutique agency, like a B-level agency that's maybe bi-coastal. And I'm just wondering what you all think about this idea of like A, B, C levels and
the term leveling up is just weird to me because some of my most successful relationships with clients are people who have come from like a Gersh or an Innovative who's like, I didn't have the personal experience I had there, and I want that. So every agency is going to have something unique and special, and so it's not about leveling up because again, we all get the same breakdowns. It's all doing the same stuff. I would encourage you to communicate and be honest and say, I'm excited about the jobs I'm getting, and you're all doing a really good work, but I just don't necessarily feel that we're all on the same page. Can we get there? And if we can't, and agencies do change, sometimes a change in agency is right. But I don't necessarily think it's a level up, level down, because again, your resume is going to get you in the room or not. So I just say, but I do believe that there are times when you're like, I have outgrown this experience. Yeah. And we just said goodbye to a client recently. He said goodbye to us, but I adore him. I wish him so much success. I can't wait to see him do really, really great things. And we are probably going to realize in 6 months, yeah, you know what? We weren't going to get him that. That's not how we saw him. So he did make the right decision. So I just think keeping the communication open, being honest, and then you will realize if it's your team or not.
I have experienced this myself because I recently became a partner, and I have changed things up. And so I will say, again, you don't have to like me, but am I doing what you need me to do? So there's a level of, also the point that I made is, we work for you. So ask for a meeting. If you still feel as though that vibe is not there, that no matter how much you may disagree with certain things, it just doesn't work for you, then move on. Yeah. But I don't know if it's leveling up or leveling down. I think that's just, again, we all get the same breakdowns, and people tend to do it at inopportune or odd times. So just understand that the relationship that you're building is an important one. And if you are afraid to talk to them because you feel like the change that has been made is not for you, then it's not for you. Yeah. But still talk about it. Communication is the key to any relationship, whether it be business or personal.
And just tell me, like, I appreciate that honesty from a client. Like, I think the worst thing I'm sure all of us would agree, like, we don't want to work with anyone that doesn't want to work with us. So if you're real and upfront with that, again, there's a respectful way to have it. If your agent is like level-headed, they'll understand, especially if the relationship's that long. But that feeling's like not going to go away. So you have to voice it and then let the conversation run its course if it's really feeling that important to tackle.
You are like therapists sometimes.
Yeah, there's no harm in doing it. It is okay. Listen to yourself. Yes. Yep.
It's called paying it forward. The amount of money I spent on my
that'll be
therapist.
$20.
Do you all have concerns about the health of film, television, and theater?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And yes. Is there like a more specific
is it
question about
is it growing in a positive way, or is it shrinking? Is AI affecting?
No, AI has nothing to do with it. Sorry, but it just doesn't. I mean, yes, obviously it does exist. It existed before the strikes. So I think people are placing a little too much poignancy on AI. It's not about that. It's about the fact that it is still a business. So after the business got shut down for 9 months with the dual strike, that means that the big networks lost a lot of money. They wanted that strike, by the way, because they had a lot of holding deals. They had a lot of money that they just got rid of. So you have to understand now, these major companies are IPOs. They are publicly traded companies. So they have to please their stockholders. The stockholders only want to see a revival. So business is okay right now, but it's going to the celebrities and then Reaganomics trickling down. They used to do about 30 to 40 pilots each network. Now, 2 or 3.
Yeah.
So I'm not concerned about the business. I think that ultimately it's just pivot. That's where we're at right now. And I can also say the same thing happens with Broadway. Look at the shows that you love and the shows that you don't love. How is this celebrity-driven thing working right now for them? Not very well. They're not getting picked up. So things are going to have to change and pivot for them too. It is all about getting back to a fiscally responsible way of this industry working, but it's a pendulum. Sometimes they'll go one way, really try. Sometimes they'll go the other way. Sometimes they'll just merge with another company and then we're all dead.
Yeah.
First, again, thank you all for taking this valuable time. You've explained the chicken and the egg thing, but if you were solid in the business for like 20 years, then you got out, it's like this wall has gone up and it's hard to get back in, to be honest. So what would you suggest for someone, and you can see there are a lot of seniors here, over 50, I'll just
Keep
be
going.
gracious.
Keep going.
Okay.
Life, I can just speak for me, but life happens. I have a handful of my most lovely clients, senior people. So what? They stopped. They did something else. They were teaching so they could feed their family or whatever. Life happens. Do your work. Do your work. There's plenty of people 70 and above on TV, or in a film or theater. Well, whatever. Hey, 70 is the new 60, 50, 40. So what?
And I was just going to chime in and say it's like that situation is similar to like an actor just breaking out in the beginning of the career at 18. Like having a blank resume or having something to say goes so much further than just having like another random submission on a breakdown, and that's something to say. There's a push to casting something more we can say than just sending your materials over. So that's like a superpower, and owning that. And like underlining that as best you can is, I've seen it work. So it is not something to run away from. Yeah.
Nice.
Hi there. I feel like there's a lot of incentive right now to generate your own material. And I'm wondering if that feels like something that you want to have a positive relationship with, or feels like a selling point as an agent, or if it's maybe an entirely different entity, or if it's something that feels like you maybe want to step away from or want to have maybe a little more control over if you have a client that's generating their own material.
I think it's a hard question to answer because of what kind of material are you talking about? And no, that's not a joke. That's an honest question. Yes, I could make a only joke. Yeah, nah, we're not going there. Like, legitimately, there are certain companies that used to have commercial agents, and they don't anymore. Now they have influencer agents.
Sure.
So I don't know exactly what you mean by my own content. I will say if you're just making student films, it's really not very helpful, quite honestly. But it's helpful for you in getting your tools sharpened, because the next time a moment comes in, you feel like you're not walking back onto a set after however long. So I think there's a little bit of clarity on what kind of content you're specifically referring to. So
I think also if you're creating other work that is authentically happening, that you are doing because that's what you need to do, and that you're the kind of person that is doing that and doing it successfully, do it. That's amazing. That's awesome. That will open some doors. That will keep your artistic muscles flowing. But if you look at somebody and go, well, look what they're doing. They're making money on this other side gig. I need to do a TikTok channel, and I'm going to be that. If that's not who you are authentically, it's not going to work. You can't force. I would never say your number one rule is to go get 100,000 followers and I want content every day. Like that's not what anyone should be telling you to do, unless that is who you are. Then I say go for it.
I was going to say too, like if you're, like, if the content you're creating is through the lens of I want to be a multi-hyphenate, I want to write, direct, and act. That's a much different conversation than I want to, shoot a film with my friend so I have more footage to show as my reel as an actor. So just making sure you're clear about what you want to do with that content, especially if you're working with a rep, because most of the time your rep is just going to represent you for acting. So it's great if you write and direct this whole thing, but that specific rep's not really going to be able to do much with the other tools. Maybe that's time to bring on a manager that can, focus on those lanes or whatever. There's more of a conversation to have, but being intentional about the why you're doing it, and if that why is also really authentic, that's a reason to do it. Yeah. But also do it because you love it. Don't do it because you're trying to get something out of it. That's Thank you. It's important thing.
That's it. Well, I want to thank you, seriously, for the time you put in tonight. Let's hear it for this group.